Good morning. Size does matter in most cases. The problem is that many believe that their size makes them superior to those around them, that anyone not of such a state is inferior, unimportant, smaller. But of course, such people often need to be brought down to size in the Twilight Zone. Say hello to Franks and Marlowe, explorers in the Amazon jungle who have discovered an entire civilization of tiny people. But they're about to discover what horrors can be brought about with such a discovery in this tale, Nightmare in Miniature. The two realize that this discovery will make them rich and famous. Franks wants to box some of them up to bring them back to civilization as proof of their existence, but Marlowe has no desire to remove them from their natural habitat and instead has a more practical solution: filming them. They film all day, exhausting Franks, who thinks that the footage they've caught is boring, and decides to shake things up a bit, driving miniature dinosaurs towards the people. Marlowe discovers this horrible act and tries to put an end to it, but is killed by Franks for his trouble. However, the tiny cavemen take their fight to Franks, knocking him out and tying him down, and leaving their oppressor to their previous attackers to suffer the fate he had intended for them. We live in a very fast-paced, stressful society. So in the short story, The Numbers Game, we see what happens when a man is pushed to his breaking point. So many numbers he has to deal with. Bills, addresses, registration information. Everything's filed and cataloged and arranged in neat little rows of numbers, and it's just so confusing and overwhelming. At least until he arrives at a clinic, where he has some adjustments made to his robot brain. So now it all makes sense again. Just a casual reminder to keep up with your regular maintenance for your own health. Light is often seen as the friend of humanity, our guide through a dark, uncertain time. But what happens when our ally turns on us, as seen in The Killer Light? The town of Elton is struck by an unusual plague, individuals who switch on a specific kind of light bulb that turns their skin ashen white and kills them. At the power company, it's discovered that filaments in a certain kind of light bulb were contaminated by an unknown radiation, which is causing this when the light bulbs are switched on. Fortunately, the shipments are stopped before they can go out, except for one, which has already begun selling in stores. The sold contaminated bulbs are quickly tracked down, with only the last one being sent to a family living in a remote cabin. At first, the cabin owner thinks they're prowlers and threatens them with a gun and a flashlight. You can decide which would have been more deadly. But fortunately, the situation is explained, and the flashlight did not contain the bulb. It was just bought as a spare. And how interesting then, that something for use in an emergency would itself cause one. We began with one pair of partners in the jungle, and we end with another in Perfect Partners. Charlie Burke and Ed Hardy have come across the motherlode of diamonds in a dead volcano crater. The two decide to see a lawyer about securing the area and the diamonds, and on their way, Ed points out that the locals had their own solution to this issue. A witch doctor had once protected a village chief against his jealous brother by casting a spell so that whatever happened to one happened to the other. Charlie decides to take advantage of that idea and goes to a witch doctor to create the spell, soon proving it's accurate with a burnt hand. However, Charlie gets greedy and goes to the witch doctor to lift the curse, who refuses. In his anger, Charlie kills the doctor, revealing that it was actually Ed in disguise, who made up the whole story to defend himself. But it seems there was more truth in the story than thought, as Ed soon finds himself on the receiving end of a spear. Greed, confusion, and mistrust. Causes of death and suffering far more often than any weapon, both in the real world and in the Twilight Zone.